Hello. How is everyone? Okay. Yes, a stream on this fine day, which is not normal. Let me put you guys over here. Actually, I'll just leave you over here and then just make it slightly smaller. Yeah, man. She just went home. That's all. Yeah, I usually don't stream on Tuesdays. Tuesdays are supposed to be my day off, but Ellis is gone right now anyway, so might as well. And I need to get work done, so I think it would be in my best interest to just work. Yeah, the big rest in peace. It is unfortunate. It is very, very unfortunate. Maybe we make that smaller. It's fine. All right. Fuck it, we ball. Or whatever. Testing one. Testing one. So, same rules apply as usual. I also can't, so I'm going to tell you, I'm obviously on my my laptop. Yeah, so redeems and everything else are off right now because I'm on the laptop recording. So remember that a lot of that shit should is going to be off or non-functioning because I'm on the recording laptop. So I'm so fucking tired. I took my medication and it does not feel like I have taken my fucking medication at all. No, you should be fine. Okay. So as usual, I will be between replies as I am actively narrating. You guys know the drill as usual. So appreciate that. Testing one. Testing. All right. I gotta figure out where I even am anymore. I definitely didn't do an introduction for this, so I should probably do that first. Fuck. Where are we doing this? Oh, this is so fucking stupid. All right. Let me do the intro and the outro first. A Lonely Broadcast, Book 2, by Kel Byron. Copyright 2025, by Kel Byron. Audio copyright 2025, by Kel Byron. Narrated by Autumn Ivy, Joey Sorless, and Mr. Creepypasta. I don't even have folders set up for this motherfucker. One day when we're all cats. Where in the fuck? Does it not have a folder? Did I not make a folder? I had to have made a folder. Did I not make a folder? Why am I like this? Just once. Just once. I would like things. Just once. Hold on, let me find it. Okay, there's a Lonely Broadcast book too. All right. We'll do MP3. I forgot what I told them. Oh well, we'll figure it out. Okay, intro's done. This has been A Lonely Broadcast, Book 2, narrated by Autumn Ivy, Joey Sorless, Mr. Creepypasta. Oh, that's me fucking up already. This has been A Lonely Broadcast, Book 2, by Kel Byron, narrated by Autumn Ivy, Joey Sorless, and Mr. Creepypasta. All right, there's our outro, and then we can get started. All right. No, I'm fucking trashed. I'm super not okay, but it is what it is. I have to work, whether I want to or not. I guess I could technically pull up. I don't know how to do that. Hold on a second. Let me see if that's something that I could do. Is that not Windows Server? Display capture. Oh, I guess it won't. Why won't it capture my... That's weird. Display capture, window capture. All right, whatever. I don't give a fuck. Okay, we're just gonna get started because I've got nothing in the tank. Oh, just kidding. This has a prologue. I'm not going to read the prologue. We'll see how that goes. I don't think we assigned the prologue, but that's fine. All right, everybody to their fucking battle stations. Let's go. Thanks. Hey, Dre, I appreciate you. Also, congratulations on your fucking casting, dude. That's awesome. You deserve those wins. Chapter 1. A Clear Day. Evelyn. From up here you can see everything. Rows upon rows of rich evergreens, hazy mountain peaks, and endless blue sky littered with fluffy clouds. If you squint, you can see the sleepy little village of Pinehaven, the town where I was born, and miles of empty, winding road leading to somewhere. And once in a while, if you're really lucky, you can catch the most glorious golden sunrise, ascending over the mountaintop as if the whole world was set on fire. I was lucky enough to have one of those mornings as I stood by the lookout window, protected by 4 drafty walls in the repurposed fire watch tower that had become the center of operations for 104.6 FM, the radio station that shouldn't exist. Over a year has passed since my arrival, and Pinehaven Radio is still on the air, keeping our little town alive. An ominous fog still rolls in from time to time, as it always has. Every day remains a gamble between endless boredom, terror beyond comprehension, and batshit stupidity. Sometimes the clocks run backwards. Now and then my office chair floats 2 inches off the floor. Yesterday the staircase gained about 17 extra steps, but only for an hour and a half. There's still a bird with human eyes who sits by the fire escape, leaving weird little presents by the window just to mess with me. Piles of earthworms, bottle caps, the occasional collection of sun-bleached human teeth. We don't know where he gets those. My hands were tucked deep in the pockets of my old, patched-up denim coat, knuckles sore from the cold and fingernails chewed down to the quick. I pulled my hands out long enough to cup them around my mouth and blow hot air into my dry, reddened palms. It took away the bitterness, but only for a moment. Oh, hello, dyslexia. I see we're fucking in driving force today. It took away the bitterness, but... It took away the bitterness, but for only a moment. The chill going up my spine was another matter. You see, a new friend was hanging out around the station. One I didn't have a name for yet. Every night after the sun went down and until the early hours of morning, a pale, rotten figure floated upside down at the very edge of the tree line. But it only showed up on the security cameras. I suppose he was shy. My eye was fixed on the spot where I knew him to be, but I saw nothing but a slight shiver of dry leaves and a brush of weight against snow-covered pine needles. A flicker of white noise came from the screen and caught my eye. He was there, staring at the security camera fixed on that spot. I could see him now, hovering in complete stillness, his torn clothes and stringy hair being taken by the wind. The way his old, dead flesh was hanging off his bones made it look as if someone had grabbed his limbs and twisted them, the same way you might wring out a wet towel. Bare, blue-gray feet were pointed toward the sky, gathering fluffy snow as a testament to the hours he had spent staring at me through the camera lens. Just the two of us, this scarecrow and I. And then, as the light of dawn finally began to reach the ground past the wall of evergreen, the figure started to sink back into the woods, 1 agonizing inch at a time. Slowly, calmly, without taking his eyes off of the camera. But I knew he'd be back. The days were getting shorter, after all. After the pale thing left, I watched a bit of movement through the security cameras, squinting at what appeared to be a hunched-over animal pacing back and forth. I was about to start throwing sticks to chase it away when I heard the familiar crunch of wheels rolling down the long gravel driveway. A moment later, the door swung open and a gust of cold air came blowing in, bringing a cyclone of snowflakes. My co-host, Daniel Esperanza, stood there in the doorway rubbing his frozen hands together like a cricket who made a wish to become a real boy. I had big plans today, and Danny was going to be joining me. It's moving day, my good bitch, I exclaimed joyously after chugging an entire cup of coffee in one go and slamming it down on the desk. Dan raised his arms in triumph, whooping excitedly and then reaching out to give me a cold high five. I tried to slap his hand, but missed completely. He said, laughing at my pathetic display. I threw my head back with a groan of exasperation. Oh my God, you have no idea, I told him, already getting my coat on. Scattered around the room were bags and cardboard Oops. Flip. Hold on. My foot is caught in my pants! Let me go! Let me go! Okay, got it. Crisis averted. Everything's fine. Nobody panic. Like, actually dyslexic. The fun thing about being diagnosed. Okay. There we go. My throat is not having it today either. Scattered around the room were bags. Scattered around the room were bags and cardboard boxes sealed with duct tape, carrying everything I owned in this world. I'm gonna miss the smell of mold and all the spiders. I'm gonna miss the smell of mold. Oops. I'm fucking up left and right today. God damn, my good jolly old bitch. I'm gonna miss the smell of mold and all the spiders, though. Made for a good midnight snack. I snapped my teeth with a loud click, and Daniel snickered in response, all while fishing his keys out of his coat pocket. Down we went, back and forth on zigzagging stairs on a cold winter's morning, filling the back of Dan's station wagon with boxes. Thankfully, we didn't have many because those 17 extra steps decided to come back and bring about a dozen more. When we stuffed the last of my stuff in the trunk, we were sweaty and out of breath despite the freezing temperatures. Ugh, we need an elevator, I said. Or like a pulley system. Daniel shook his head. He scolded. I made a gagging noise as I got in the car. Oh, great. Ugh, more scenarios for my nightmares. Just as we were pulling out of the driveway, Finn was on his way to take over my shift. He gave us a sleepy wave as our vehicles passed like two ships in the night. Then, after a quick, very slippery journey through unsalted roads and patches of bumpy ice chunks, Daniel and I were on our way to the apartment building. My new apartment was waiting for me. It felt good. It felt like something was finally working out for me after all this time. Daniel explained on the way. He was driving slowly with both hands on the wheel, tight and secure. Please be B-Guy. That's exactly what I fucking want right now. Please be B-Guy. I am alone. Unfiltered. My designated human is not currently watching me. That sounds like a large truck. What is that? What? Okay, actually, what is that? Because that sounds huge. Excuse me, what are we doing? Oh, we're excavating. We have the excavator all the way down here. Why do we have that all the way down here? Is there a purpose? Is there a reason? What are we doing? Because that's undesignated excavator time. Undesignated excavator time is what this is. That you are... Okay, well, I can't do shit until that's done. You don't mind if a white girl has a little crash out? Maybe a minty bee or two? I can't even get around that. Like, for what fucking reason, dog? How can the bees control an excavator? No, I'm not fucking kidding you. Are we done? Have we finished? No, we're not. Okay, got it. There is literally no reason. Not a single one. Alright, well, give it a few minutes, I guess. Oh, you know, right when I sit down to do the rest of my job. Like a good little, you know, worker bee. They decide to do shit that is completely unnecessary in the middle of the day on a Tuesday. I feel like they know. Well, what's funny is I did auditions and shit this morning and it was fine. Thank you for the hugs. You guys are real ones. That's oh, bye. Okay. What are we doing? Why are we doing this now? I do live isolated, but I have neighbors up and down the acreage. They are not close neighbors, but when they're running an excavator down the road, no, it was a surprise. It was until it abruptly took a left turn. Loving this for me. Because I cannot narrate around that, even with the dogs actually being reasonable. Yeah, I do until this happens. I'm so fucking tired. Dog, please just leave. Like, every time. And like, otherwise I'd still try, but I know for a fact that that beeping and shit's gonna pick up on the mic. Unfortunately, no. But I am a little pissed off that they're using it and we weren't notified. They're supposed to tell us when they're doing shit like that because they know what I fucking do for a living. But here we are. Are we finished? Did we finish? Are we done? Are we good? All right. We might be okay. Or not. I don't know. I don't even know where the fuck we left off. Secure. On the wheel. Tight and secure. Okay, the barking started right at the clicking, so that's fine. Dan, buddy, it's gonna be fine. I interrupted him with a laugh. I know, you've been through it all before, but I'll be okay. Really. Daniel was grinning ear to ear as he turned the corner, all while snow flurries melted against the windshield, one large, fluffy flake at a time. He spared me a quick glance from friendly brown eyes, so dark they were almost black. He turned his attention to the road once more. I chuckled, but the forced laugh was hiding a lump in my throat and a sting in my eye. I tried to hide a sniffle by rubbing my hands together and blaming it on the cold. Me too, amigo, Daniel teased. You wish. I leaned back in my seat, shoving my hands into my pockets. I felt goosebumps all the way up my cold arms, but inside there was a warm feeling that even the winter couldn't reach. For the first time in my whole life, I finally did feel proud. I mean, I finally had a real place of my own. No roommates to lean on, no family to disappoint, no couches to surf. Sure, the plumbing sucked, and I think I heard a rumor that the last tenants were busted for selling cocaine, but it's okay. It's mine. It's home. And the view is much improved. Hey, Danny boy, I have a question. How are we going to get the couch up to the top floor? Daniel made a popping sound with his lips and then sighed long and displeased. Have you ever felt like you were stuck in a day you've lived before? It starts simple. One familiar sight, a smell, maybe an old song comes to mind, and suddenly you're back in a place you forgot about. You're back in a place that used to be special. That day, it was the strain on my muscles as I carried a cardboard box up a set of stairs, filled just a little too heavy. It was the jingle of a new set of keys, and the embarrassing struggle of trying to pop open a sticking door. It was the face of a friend being just as incompetent as I was. Okay, go a little more left. No, left. Danny, left! Daniel and I were failing spectacularly in our attempt to get a sofa through the door. In the end, we had to put it down and rethink our approach. All while this cumbersome piece of oversized furniture sat sideways in the hallway under a flickering yellow light. Neighbors were trying to walk around us in an embarrassing shuffle, but I was too stubborn to give up. Daniel said as he stretched a long leg over the arm of the couch and plopped down. His body turned into a big, limp noodle that disappeared between the cushions. From the dump, I said. Don't worry, I scraped most of the mold off. Not the fleas, though. They can stay. I let myself fall onto the other side, my head on the center cushion and my legs dangling over the edge. Daniel only briefly wrinkled his nose in mock disgust. He flashed a big, stupid grin and tangled his fingers in my hair, tossing my bangs around. Yeah, thrift store. Side by side on a sofa too big to fit through the door, we looked like, well, a couple of absolute dipshits. And there it was again. That feeling. I had been here before. I could hear the struggle and the laughter on the day that Jennifer helped me move into her apartment. We chased each other with brooms and put our handprints in wet paint with a sense of childlike wonder that we never got back. I thought it would last forever. Sometimes when those memories were this vivid, I forgot that she had been gone for over a year now. The anniversary of her death passed me by, silent and unnoticed. I never talked about her anymore. I didn't speak to old mutual friends. Elijah was long gone. Her parents probably thought I was dead. Time had swallowed her memory, but little moments like this still brought her back to me. God, I miss her. It was another hour of toiling away and arguing, but the deed was finally done. A faded sofa the color of deer hide was scooted against the far wall between two doors, taking up a majority of the cramped living room space. My apartment didn't look like much, nor did it smell the greatest, but compared to a storage closet or the underside of a yellow park slide, it was fantastic. Daniel took a Ugh. Daniel Daniel took a few pictures of me with the Polaroid camera I had gotten him for his birthday, despite my protests. He was waving one around as he parked himself back down on the couch with a loud thump. It was a nice shot of me flipping off the camera while lying face down on the countertop, exhausted. You want some water? I asked after I had time to catch my breath. Dan was stretched down on the sofa, feet dangling off the edge. There was a hint of a shit-eating smirk on his face. Nope, sorry. It all melted in the moving box. Jackass. I was grabbing a mug out of storage. Stand outside long enough and maybe you'll catch some snowflakes in your cup. I made the tiny trip over to the kitchenette on legs that felt like 2 sticks of melted butter. I turned the sink handle, but nothing came out. It simply made a weak gurgle of noise and dripped the tiniest bit of brown, grainy liquid from the spout. It wasn't until I decided to give the faucet a good old smack with my fist that it actually worked. The pipes rumbled, and I watched as an uneven spray of gritty, dark red water started to burst from the pipe, leaving sediment and chips of rusted metal in the basin below. The smell was bitter. My stomach turned. This was another one of those familiar moments. My logical brain knew it was only rust, but my memory brought back a feeling so powerful and so clear that I could feel the tackiness of fresh blood on my fingertips. I recalled the taste on my tongue, the texture sticking to my skin, and the way the kitchen sink bubbled. It wasn't the same, I told myself. This wasn't the broadcast room where blood ran from the faucets and ghosts cried in the pipes every day. But why did it feel like I was still there? Like I would always be there. Water's bad. I wiped my hands on my jeans and turned to rest my back against the counter. I'll go to the store, get a couple of gallon jugs, and call the landlord in the morning. Probably just rusted pipes. I'll be back in a few minutes, okay? Just lock the door if you leave. Dan gave me a tired thumbs up, seemingly in no rush to go anywhere. He was too exhausted to notice the quiver behind each word that I spoke. Walking into the shops felt like I was doing it for the first time, as if my mom had given me a $10 bill and a mission for milk and toilet paper. The lights were harsh, the sounds overwhelming. I could barely remember the last time it felt natural being here in the outside world. The forest was noisy that day. The wind howled, the trees creaked, and branches snapped beneath the weight of heavy snow. I swore I could hear whistling coming from behind the berry bushes, and I wasn't the only one. The other folks on the sidewalk started walking faster. I saw faces that I knew should have been familiar to me, but they weren't. Not anymore, at least. My old high school English teacher looked as if he had aged 50 years, shuffling slowly one step at a time while looking down at the cracked pavement. Either he didn't recognize me or he was pretending not to. The lady who worked at the pharmacy was quietly muttering to herself while she smoked a cigarette by the stoplight. Everyone had the same glazed, far-off look in their eyes. And it didn't change once I entered the tiny general store with its peeling mustard yellow walls and chip tiles. Okay, I was making sure that wasn't her speaking. We'll leave these outside for Toby tonight, okay? He'll come back. I heard a woman's voice from the other side of the aisle, followed by the rattle of a dog treat container. A small child sniffled. What if Toby doesn't? Damn, I don't know if I can hit that today. What if Toby don't want to come out of the woods? What if he likes it better in there? The woman shushed her child gently. I heard the sharp squeak of a grocery cart's wheels as she began to turn it around. Don't worry, baby. He knows where his home is. I put a bottle of dish soap in my basket without looking. The woman and I locked eyes for the briefest moment, and I could see the way she held her mouth in a straight line, frustrated by her own omissions. My neighbors weren't stupid. They've always known. It's just easier and safer to bury your head in the sand. A light above my head fizzled out with a pop, and I flinched. The way my heart started to race from the sudden noise, harmless as it was, felt way too familiar. I was dizzy, walking from aisle to aisle. I forgot which direction I was going in and saw the same things again and again, up and down the same few steps. Suddenly I was seeing colors and shapes, but I couldn't tell what they were anymore. I couldn't remember how to make myself recognize anything. That swirling cloud of confusion fogged my brain and made it hard to breathe. And for no reason. Nothing was wrong. Everything was just so overwhelming, so loud and bright. The world around me was too big. This anxiety has only been getting worse, I think. Goosebumps rose on my arms as a cold breeze from the refrigerators hit my skin. The way it crawled up my neck made my jaw tighten, teeth clenched. I could hear the blunt chop of a knife against wood as I passed by the deli, one sheet of thick glass between me and the slabs of meat on display. I smelled blood, subtle and mingling with the stale, numb scent of frozen air. There was a wheeze from below. It was coming from a dead fish head, freshly chopped from the body but still moving and gasping for water. Its cloudy, cold eyes followed me, human and pleading for some kind of release from its pain. A tingle of horror and disgust went up my spine when I realized it was trying to form words, struggling with a mouth filled with mismatched teeth that didn't belong to it. Another loud chop came from behind the counter, and I looked up to see the butcher's gray, bloated face. He was smiling eerily wide, mouth filled with several rows of rotting black teeth. But his eyes were gone. Instead, the sockets had been invaded by wriggling masses of worms and parasites, spilling out of his head and falling onto the table below. The butcher brought down his knife again, a splatter of blood hitting his apron as he sliced into a slab of fresh, moving, breathing tissue. Everything in the display was alive. Muscles were pulsing, and blood was still coursing through twisting veins. Oh, I really don't want to be like that today. The decapitated heads of various livestock began to moan and scream. Their voices crackling through open mouths without any air to use. Their cloudy eyes stared up at me in a fruitless attempt for help. Mercy. That pitiful moan, that struggling alien voice groaning, "Please." It activated something deep in my brain that had long been forgotten. I wanted to cry. Something cold and damp touched my lower back and slid up to my neck like a single finger tracing my spine. I jumped, a hoarse whimper leaving my throat. In one ear, I heard a voice speaking from only inches behind me. It was the dry, painful croak of something long dead. And out of the corner of my eye, I could see an open mouth, filled with twigs, wet leaves, and the smell of woodland decay. Her jaw unhinged slowly with a series of cracks, and that voice spoke again. Her whispers and rattles morphing into something that began to sound like my name. I didn't turn around. I didn't want to look. The way my heart pounded with quick, building dread told me that I couldn't bear to look at that face. I never wanted to see her again. My eyes squeezed shut, every muscle in my body tensing as my fists balled up so forcefully and so tightly that my fingernails sliced into the skin of my palms. If it hurt, maybe it could wake me. Maybe it could end this dream. Lenny, do you miss me? Her voice was like gravel. It was dust in an old, withered throat. Do you miss me? Do you miss me? Do you miss? Miss? The hand on my shoulder was warm and soft. All at once, the sounds of the grocery store flooded my ears, and bright, fluorescent light hit my eye with migraine-inducing force. I felt like I'd been flash-bombed. Calm music was playing overhead. I blinked, and I was looking at the deli again, but the man behind the counter had stopped what he was doing to watch me, with concern on his face. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. "Miss, can you hear me?" a woman asked. "Is everything all right?" My heart was racing as I turned my head. Where I expected to see a decayed, withered corpse covered in forest growth, I saw the kind face of a lady in a green smock. How long has she been standing there? How long had I been standing there? "I'm fine," I said. My tongue was dry as I spoke. I wasn't fine. Not this time. The truth was I couldn't leave the station without bringing it with me. No matter where I went, no matter how good things were, no matter how far away I got, the forest followed my every step. That tower and I would always be bound together in this toxic, unhealthy relationship where everything I saw reminded me of that place. I couldn't stop thinking about the forest. It was in my thoughts as I checked down at the front of the store, listening to strangers in line behind me whisper to one another. It was there, floating around in my head, as I gazed up at the gray, overcast sky and stepped out into the cold air. And it was still in my thoughts as I began to walk home, both arms sore from the weight of grocery bags filled with bottled water, snacks, and a bottle of tequila. I couldn't even remember putting it in my basket. An eerie wind blew through my hair. A dry leaf rolled across the sidewalk in front of me, and I heard the pines shiver in a cold breeze. I stopped, turning my head to stare into the woods. There was no escaping it, was there? I recalled the night I lost my eye, the night we found Jennifer stuffed inside a hollow tree, the night of the graduation party where I saw... No. Never mind. From between the pines, I heard a heavy, labored breath. It was a wet sound, like lungs filled with fluid and infection, but unable to cough. I could see something hunched just beyond the tree line, half hidden in the pines. It had light-colored fur with angry red patches of diseased skin. It was facing away from me on all fours, vomiting some kind of dark, syrupy liquid into the snow. The sound of its retching reminded me of an old man's voice, making me all the more pleased that I couldn't see its face. I don't think it had a dog's face anymore. "Toby!" I heard a little voice. "Mom, look, it's Toby!" It was that same young boy from the grocery store, pulling on his mother's hand and pointing at the creature from the edge of the sidewalk. The animal bristled and ran off, its gait made clumsy by the fact that its feet were pointed in the wrong direction. I heard the distinct jingle of a dog collar as it went, getting quieter and quieter until it disappeared between heavy, snow-covered bushes. "Honey," the boy's mother whispered while petting the top of his head. That wasn't Toby. "Now, come on. We've got to get home. I don't want you going near the woods, okay? Remember what we talked about." The woman and I silently acknowledged each other for the second time. Her expression was exhausted. aged beyond her years, as if every long night spent staring out the window was written in the lines between her brows. She looked away and tugged on the child's arm, quickening her pace. As they hurried down the path, I could hear the little boy asking quietly, "Do you know that lady? What happened to her eye?" His mother didn't answer. The beast from the woods was gone, slipping deep into the pines. It left behind backwards footprints and a bubbling pool of hot, black acid that was currently sinking into the soil and melting the snow around it. It carried a metallic, bitter smell that made my nose tingle from several paces away. The wet, brown leaves withered around the substance as if choked by death itself. I silently reminded myself not to touch any steaming puddles of tar, tempting as it may be. The snow was falling harder by the time I got back to my apartment, carefully avoiding ice on the sidewalk that hadn't been salted. Once inside, the hallway was dark, brightened only by the faded yellow light above the stairwell and the glow of a red exit sign. There was no nostalgia. There was nostalgia there, mixed with slow, quiet dread. No one was in the elevator. No one was on the stairs. I could hear distant steps and voices from above, muffled by the walls, and it brought me back to a faraway place in my memory. The endless peeling wallpaper and the ugly tile made this place feel both liminal and outdated, but the way the shadows bounced off every surface was unsettling. Lonely. Unreal. When I got to the top floor and approached my apartment, I put my ear to the door to listen. It was quiet, all except for the electric buzz of a malfunctioning light bulb from the other side. But then an ear-splitting sound like scraping metal made my teeth ache. A shadow moved slowly beneath the door, back and forth, following the sound. I thought about that animal again. I thought about its backwards feet, the way it limped away, learning to use its twisted limbs as it dragged its emaciated body through the snow. My hand approached the doorknob slowly, fingers shivering. I almost expected it to jiggle or be grabbed by something on the other side, but it turned easily. When I opened the door, I wasn't greeted by horrors from the woods. There were no ghosts from my past back to torment me. It was Daniel, standing on a step stool in the center of the kitchen, screwing a light bulb into the ceiling fixture. He said, grunting as he tried to fasten the bulb in tightly. As I stared at the flickering light, watching it stabilize and cast a warm glow on the walls, my absent mind began to drift back to reality. My mouth was slightly agape, and Dan's eyes were fixed on me, one bushy eyebrow slightly higher than the other. Yeah, I'm good. I cleared my throat. It's cold as hell outside. I watched the way the ladder beneath Dan's feet jiggled under even his tiniest movements, and I cringed. I'll give you a present if you promise to get off that rickety thing before you bust your skull open. I reached into the collection of groceries and grabbed a bag of chips, tossing it toward Daniel once his feet found solid ground. I couldn't resist a smirk as he fumbled, juggling the bag to keep it from hitting the floor. It's the dinner of champions, I told him. He squeezed both sides of the bag, letting it pop open and wincing as he prepared for the jump scare it gave him. I was already munching on a handful of my own greasy goodness. I was surprised to hear him bitching, especially after burning soup the last time I tried to cook dinner for the three of us. Who burns soup? Champions aren't picky, Dan, I grumbled with my mouth full. Eat your fucking chips. I had the night off. Daniel was going to take over after Finn, and I'd take the morning shift, giving me the night to settle in and unpack. In the meantime... In the time we had together before his departure, Dan and I ate junk food and used the dodgy public Wi-Fi to watch dumb cat videos on the internet. He took more bad photos with his Polaroid, mostly pictures of the two of us with one of our faces partially cut from the frame, no matter which angle he tried. And for that short while, I didn't think about anything else. It was only me, my best friend, and home. But as I watched Daniel prepare to leave, I was faced with a brand new, unfamiliar anxiety. The safety and ignorance of being on the outside. I was finally out of that godforsaken tower. I was proud of myself and excited for this adventure that I had worked so hard to achieve. But why wasn't I happy? Before he left, Danny insisted on taking one more picture. A good one of the two of us to immortalize a hard day's work. This time we both made silly faces. He handed me the Polaroid, and I stuck it to the fridge like a piece of macaroni art, held up by a magnet I stole from work. "Thanks for all your help, Danny boy," I said, handing him his bag. He wore a big, goofy, gap-toothed grin, and his eyes crinkled in that familiar, reliable smile. "Selfless and generous as always," he said. He put a hand on the top of my head, ruffling my hair into a wild ginger bird's nest. He gave me a wink. "You sure you have to leave?" I asked, the playful tone of my voice hiding the genuine anxiety. "We could put in a movie, paint each other's toenails, talk about boys." Daniel laughed, his hands stuffed in his pockets. He said his voice was softer now. He left, the tap of his Oxfords fading with each step down the stairwell. Now it was just me, a room full of boxes, and an ever-persistent case of anxiety as I noticed the view from my place at the top floor of the apartment building. The trees, the night sky, the mountains. I could see everything from up here. You know, the passage of time here in Pinehaven is a surreal, blurry thing. On one hand, nothing really changes except for the temperature and the color of the oak leaves. On the other hand, nostalgia seems to always hit harder when I look around and search for faces that aren't here anymore. Places that have disappeared. Good times we can't get back. And now the year was coming to an end, and my coworkers and I could say what was once thought to be impossible. We were still here. It was snowing. It built up on the sides of the road, leaving the pavement wet and glistening between tire marks. For the first time in years, I saw Pinehaven for what it really was. Old brick buildings, rusted train tracks that hadn't been touched in decades, family businesses, memories of coal country. A bell rang out 9 times, coming from the little church 2 streets down. 9 o'clock. The sound was shrill in a way that made my teeth hurt. Boxes were sorted, unpacked, items scattered around the room. Clothes were folded in a pile with no hangers to put them up, while mismatched mugs and dishes were placed in dusty old cupboards. It felt strange and unfamiliar to be doing this on my own, but I pushed all thoughts of Jennifer to the back of my mind. The past wasn't too far away, however. I pulled an old battery-operated radio out of storage, setting it down on the floor next to the sofa after programming my morning alarm. The antique still had some Sharpie marker stains on the bottom. FM. Frank McKinnon. A pale, distant memory came back to me. I was sitting in a truck bed in the summer while wearing my dad's coat, watching the stars and listening to the radio. The wind rustled through long grass and the music was soft. I didn't know any better back then. I forgot I even had it. If I focused really hard, it still smelled a little bit like the old fire station. Smoke and gasoline. I had been thinking about him a lot, actually. Curiously, I turned the dial, finding that rare in-between station that I knew so well. 104.6 FM. An even number. Anywhere else in the country, it would probably just be static, but here, it was the only station you could get. I heard the muffled voice of our part-timer, Finn, on the other end, his bored and deadpan tone reading out the end of tomorrow's weather forecast. "It was going to be a foggy night," he said. "A good night to stay indoors." A good night to keep the radio on. Looking out the window made the hair on the back of my neck stand on end. I tossed my pillow on that side of the couch so I didn't have to face the view while I slept, all while reminding myself to pick up some curtains. This is Evelyn McKinnon at 104.6 FM, and despite everything, we're still on the air. Damn, feels good to be back, homie. Feels heartbreaking to be back, but feels good. Feels sad, man. Hello. Sorry, I'm in and out. Oh, it always escalates quickly. That's accounts. Okay. That was chapter 1. Now let's take a look here. What do we... Oh, there we go. It wasn't showing up. How many pages do we got for this one? 17? Okay. You'll have to read book 1. You're a little behind, homie. You gotta catch up. You gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers, Ray. We need to redo. Book 1. Some of the audio, I guess, wound up being super fucked up on Spike's side, and we really need to go back in and fix it. Unfortunately, because it was all self-funded, it was just really, really tough to navigate. All right. Oh, that's good. That's what I'm saying, though, is like the first audiobook's not bad, but it does need to be, some of Spike's lines need to be redone for sure. But we're going to finish book 2 first, and then we'll get to it. All right. Okay. Testing 1. Testing. Okay. Chapter 2. The First Invasion. Evelyn. By the light of early morning, I would be drunk, bleeding, and shaking on the floor by the couch. There was blood on the tile, on the window, seeping in from the hallway floor. The neighbors were still sobbing, probably holding each other close while they prayed for the nightmare to be over. And I would be alone, looking out at the streets of town where memories of my childhood lay torn to ruins. But before it all went wrong, it started with a sound. A drone. A bellow that shook the whole earth. It was a siren. The blaring horn muffled through the glass, drowned out the crackle of the radio. I was pulled out of a deep, cold sleep and rolled suddenly off the couch, falling to the floor and hitting the back of my head with a loud thud. Daniel's voice said through the static. The siren was like a single prolonged scream in the dead of night. I had never heard it from this side of the forest before. The tone of Daniel's voice, however, was even more alarming. He was shaken to his very core. He had made this announcement before many times, in fact, so why was his voice trembling now? He said, breathless and hurried. He went quiet. Still trapped in a twisted blanket, I squinted at the radio as white noise started to break through. With a tired, ornery grunt, I picked it up and smacked it with the palm of my hand. I gave it a rough shake. I tried adjusting the stations. I even turned it off and on again. All I heard was white noise in every direction, as if 104.6 FM didn't even exist anymore. You'd think I would be used to this kind of horse shit by now. After the first year, the jitters would go away, right? But thinking about Danny spending the night in the tower by himself reminded me too much of my early days. back when the night felt endless and surviving until morning was always a shock. I knew Daniel didn't like to be alone. The moment I put the radio back down, as if on cue, a light from outside my living room window went dark. I squinted at the cold, frosted glass. It was one of the street lamps outside the apartment building. It flickered a few times, weaker and weaker, until it went out completely. Moments later, it was followed by the one beside it. As I pushed the blankets off of my legs, my skin was touched by the chill of a drafty room and the wind that whistled and rattled against the glass. I rushed to the window, bare feet, shocked by the cold tile. Down every street, lights were going out one by one on the roadsides, in people's homes, and even in the sky. It looked like the stars were dying one by one. The night grew black, a heavy cloud passing over. Slowly, deliberately. My chest was tight and my heart was strangled, every pump of my pulse quicker and more painful than the one before it. This cloud was thick, and it swirled in tumultuous waves, reaching the ground and stretching up the mountainside for miles and miles. It found us. Somewhere in a matter of minutes, the fog had passed the forest boundary and it had found us. Even as a child, huddled in the basement with my mother, I had never seen it from this view. The powerless view of the observer, locked behind closed doors with no choice but to watch and wait as the siren blared over us all. The people in the village must have been terrified. They always were, but I knew something most of them didn't know. If the fog reached the town, there was only one explanation. The radio signal had stopped. 104.6 FM had lost its operator. I swore loudly when I stubbed my toe on one of the boxes scattered around the kitchen, knocking a pile over with an avalanche of noise. I felt drunk in the dark as I searched blindly for my phone, patting my hands against every cold surface until I finally found it stuffed between the couch cushions. The bright screen burned my eye when it flooded my face with light, but I blinked through the discomfort. Shivering thumbs typed away at the screen. Thankfully, my list of contacts was small. Daniel was easy to find. The line rang once, then twice. I sat myself down on the living room floor next to the couch, legs curled up and cold feet tucked underneath me. There was a third ring, a fourth, and then silence. "Daniel can't come to the phone right now. Please leave a message after the tone." "Dan, you fucking walnut! Pick up your phone!" I gritted my teeth in frustration, heart